Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to another edition of the 2024 NFL Draft Stock Rookie Report. My podcast co-host and I, Jason DiRienzo, on our podcast this week, we spoke about 6 players, 4 stock up and 2 stock down players as we head into week 13 of college football season. It's hard to believe that there's only 1 week left of the regular season of college football. So each and every week, Jason and I, man, we're putting some great content out on this channel, getting you ready for your 2024 rookie drafts. If you play Dynasty, you play Fantasy, you play Devy, C2C, whatever fantasy format, football format you play, man, hit that subscribe button. We have a ton of content on here. I am dropping films and highlight films every day on the channel. Your support would be much appreciated. All right, so this is I'm going to insert this from our podcast, Devy to Dynasty Football Podcast, about our stock players for Week 12 of college football. Thanks for watching. All right, let's get to our NFL stock report. I'm going to start us off, and I want to talk about my first stock up player. I want to talk about is Mr. Bo Nix. Okay, he has currently the last 3 games he has been on fire. I mean, Cal, USC, and Arizona State. He has thrown 16 touchdowns and 1 interception. On the season, he's thrown 35 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He's currently has PFF's #1 QB grade in all of college football. And I think he's a riser going into. I have him right now as the QB3 of the class. I'm still very early in my final process or whatever, but I think he's been playing really well. And I think he's battle tested. I talk about all the time how intangibles matter. And it's something as the amateur scouts, or what I consider myself an amateur anyway, we can't get inside the head of these guys. But I like the fact that, he played at Auburn for 3 years and had the pressure of coming into that organization, into that program with his father, had been going there, and he just failed miserably, and comes here and has rebounded his career in Oregon in 2 seasons. And he is playing lights out. And if you look at the landscape right now for the NFL, I mean, look at all the rookie quarterbacks. Look at all the backups that are getting, through the injuries and incompetent play. I mean, it is crazy. So again, if you play in super flex leagues, this is the kind of guy that if he gets round 1 draft capital, I'm looking at mock drafts every day. It's what I do when I wake up and I drink coffee. I'm like searching for mock drafts. I love mock drafts. And I know they're not certainly reliable, but Bo Nix has been playing fantastic. I mean, he's in the Heisman, conversation. He's going to get, I think he's going to be a top 10 pick, top 15 pick in the draft. And if he gets that great landing spot and a good program, I think stock up. But right now, I think he's a riser up quarterback boards. I know he is for me. So he's my first stock up player this week.
I think that's a great call. And you know what? You made a very good point. I mean, just the turnaround. I mean, a complete 180 of his career from the time he left Auburn to go to Oregon in just 2 years. And now we're talking about him back in the first round, where 2 years ago he was a undrafted free agent, maybe make the practice squad. Like, that's the kind of talent that he was showcasing on the field. That's unbelievable. So yeah, great point and good call. My stock up guy is going to be Kansas running back Devin Neal. Talk about a guy who's just consistent every single week. I mean, this past week against Kansas State, had 3 touchdowns, 138 yards, and ran for 7.7 yards per carry. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and he just looks like he's hungry, man. Every time he's got the ball, he just looks so determined to make sure that he gets the most out of every single play. You could tell he's a competitor at heart. You could tell that he truly loves this game. And for a team that has been trying to find identity for a long time, Devin Neal has given that to them, because without Devin Neal, I'm not sure if this team does have an identity. So the size at 5'10", 5'11", 210 pounds, I like that. He can prove that he's a good pass catcher. He has 24 receptions this year for over 200 yards receiving. So he can do that as well. And NFL teams are going to covet a guy like this who has the size, the strength. I think he'd be a good locker room guy. And I'm honestly just rooting for him, because I love a player like this that consistently, 1, develops, 2, loves the game, and you see it all on the field in this gameplay. So Devin Neal is definitely a stock up for me.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I love the call too. I'm going to be doing a film review with one of my dashboard subscribers next week, actually, on Devin Neal, his Illinois game. I was watching it today. I was cutting up his all-22 film for that, and I like what I saw. I mean, he had good vision, really navigated the second level pretty well. He can bounce outside. I'd like to see him finish. I'd like to see him finish a little stronger. but we'll get into his rookie report and all that, I'm sure, in the months ahead. But I mean, he's in my
Oh
top
yeah,
6 or 7 right now. So, quarterback or running back class for the 2024. He's a junior. Who knows? He may come back. He might be one of those Zach Charbonnet kind of
he
players,
could.
that
Yeah,
we all hope goes. It should be interesting to see who goes. My second stock up player, Jason, hold your seat, okay? Because you're going to be really surprised.
I
I'm
love when
going
you
to
surprise me.
I'm going to go with Will Shipley. All right. Now, you and I have been beating up Will Shipley for a long time. And I'm not, just because he is a stock up player does not mean that I think he is an NFL starter. So I just want to put that out there as a caveat. But I'll tell you, I watched his UNC game and I cut it up this weekend and I was really, really impressed. All right. I saw things, we look for, when we do our film reviews, Jason, what do I always say?
Mhm.
We're looking for wow moments, right? We're looking for
Correct.
flashes of traits that we can say, like, okay, most of these players that we watch and scout in college, we're not going to consistently see the traits that we want to see. But then there's
Mhm.
sometimes when you watch a player where then you can they flash something, you're like, oh, like I didn't know he had that ability. I think this was his best game of the season. I don't have his stats on what that game was right now, but he had over 20 carries. He is the leader of that team. He had 2 or 3 nice receptions, but the two things that I saw, he made 2 really nice cuts in the open field. And I saw some burst and acceleration that I hadn't seen in the past. Now, UNC is known for not having the best defense, right? So I got to take that, into consideration. But man, I'll tell you, he's a riser for me, not because I think he's leapfrogging other thing. It's just that the more running back film that I watch, he just shows the toughness and grit to be a tough runner. He's got the versatility as a pass catcher. And I just wouldn't be surprised, coming from a better program like Clemson, that he might not get, leapfrogged. He might not leapfrog over some other running backs that we might not like better in this class. I liked what I saw versus UNC this week. So he is my week 11 number 2 stock up player. I liked what I saw.
Honestly, when it comes down to it, I mean, you kind of gave that disclaimer. Just because he's a stock up doesn't mean anything other than the fact that he's performing at a level where his stock should rise for the NFL draft, and that makes total sense. Especially the way that the running back position has been a roller coaster ride all
Mhm.
season. So I get it. All right, so my next guy is going to be USC receiver Brendan Rice. I know I've probably talked about him previously on other podcasts, and he's probably been one of my Devy risers as well, and maybe even one of the previous episodes of Riser in NFL Draft. But I just keep seeing an ability that NFL teams need. And that is size, speed, and a threat to stretch defenses and, be a threat downfield and a red zone threat. And I think that's exactly what Brendan Rice can be. I think he's more of a situational type guy who can play on the outside, but I've seen enough from him where I just feel like the hands, the ability to contort his body to even low or high thrown balls or difficult catches, he's able to do that. I like the fact that he shakes off defenders. He doesn't ever allow or want that first tackle. He wants to try to
Mhm.
gain as many yards as he can and fights through contact, and I like that. So I think Brendan Rice, especially in this last game where he had 147 yards and a touchdown, really showed good wiggle to kind of elude along the perimeter, get past the defender, and get the touchdown. There's a lot to like with Brendan Rice. It's going to take a team to really identify where he fits in their scheme, but I do think that he's going to be a guy that NFL teams are going to covet, especially the fact that they know that his dad's been helping him out, and that goes a long way too.
Yeah. So, I mean, where do you think he gets drafted? I mean, do you think he's an early day 3 guy or a mid day 3
Like
guy?
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking fourth, fifth round,
4th or
somewhere in
5th
there.
round? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, well, there you goes, guys. Got it. Those are our 4 stock up players. So, unfortunately, when we do this show, we know we need to do a stock down player, and I'm going to go with a
Yes,
spicy
we
one
do.
here. I think both of our stock downs are, maybe going to be head scratchers for people, but I want to go with Keon Coleman as my stock down player. All right, and I'm not saying that I don't like Keon Coleman's game. I just don't like it as much as other wide receivers in this class. And you and I did a film review, an all 22 film review,
Mhm.
Jason, and I'm in the middle of cutting up another film, and I saw the same exact things that we saw on the film that we did a film review on. Was, yeah, what do we know about Coleman that we like, right? He's a 50-50, go down the field and get it. Physical at the catch point, big, I don't know if he would be relatively fast, but what I question is how technical of a route runner is he and how twitchy is he, right? To create space. And for me, for a wide receiver, we need to be able to create space. You had brought
Mhm.
up a really good point. I went back and watched the video that we did, and one of the questions you asked in that video, and then when I was cutting up the second one, I specifically looked at it was, how athletic is he compared to, an NFL DB versus what we're seeing him playing at Florida State right now? And I
Right.
kind of saw the same thing. Yeah, he's out muscling people, but he's never out running anybody. I never see him out twitch anybody. I just see him using his, physicality, which I love in receivers, as you guys know. But I'm just wondering what his usage is in the NFL, because when we talk about, I see scouting reports on some of these players sometimes, and it's like, oh, he's going to be a great contested catch 50-50 ball guy. But are they really used in the NFL? I mean, we've had a lot of NFL backs go, wide receivers rather, drafted in the last couple of years. Couple names here: Traylon Burks, George Pickens, Drake London, Quentin Johnston, Jonathan Mingo, right? All guys that were drafted early in the last 2 years. And none of them are really panning out. And this whole NFL wide receiver room this year is all littered with these big guys. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's going to be really interesting to see. So Keon Coleman is outside my top 5 right now. He's like number 3 for a lot of people. And every time I watch another player who's got more twitch and who's got more explosion to their game to be able to create space, I seem to put them on top of a guy like Keon Coleman. So he is my stock down player this week. And I'm not saying he's, going to be not going to hit our dynasty roster. I'm just not on board with him being like the number 3 guy overall in this class. I just don't see from an athletic at 6'4", 215 pounds where he's really going to fit unless he is super, super special and athletic with the speed to create space. And I just don't see it with him.
Yeah, one of the things, the reason why I bring that up is because at the Scouting Academy, that's how we kind of grade these players out. What kind of competition can they face at the next level and win? And, for him, I just see if he faces an average athlete that has average mental processing, maybe above average athlete as well because of his size and the way I've seen him win at the catch point. Keon Coleman, to me, I think he is the definition of a guy who's going to have a limited route tree year one in the NFL, probably won't perform based on the standards that we have. I think
Exactly.
he's a year 2, year 3 type break. I think there's a lot of nuance that he still needs to learn when it comes to route running and the technical side of how all the routes are executed. So
Mhm.
that, yeah, I think that's a good call based on where we have seen him, be going in mock drafts and ranked. I completely agree. And I'm gonna stay with FSU, man, and I'm gonna go with Trey
Yeah.
Benson, who at some points was RB1 for a lot of people. And understandably, if you watched him last year, there was a lot to like, and you can kind of begin to get on board with the idea that he might be one of the better running backs in this class. But this season, he has taken a step back. And that step back to me is the mental processing. There's just no identification with him for what he sees on the field and how his body reacts to it. I think he's cutting to cut based on where he thinks he should go without actually having the blueprint in front of him of execution based on gap assignments and what his offensive line is doing for him. You get him into space like we saw in a couple of those large runs. Yeah, he'll be gone. I think he's athletic. I think he's got the speed. But for me, I need to see more within his ability as far as the first level and second level vision and understanding what his gap assignments are and how to execute them properly. Because if he doesn't have the mental processing, he's going to perform slower on the field. And if he improves in that mental processing and improves the vision, we're going to see a very special player because if you
Mhm.
mix that with the athleticism, the reaction times, with the timing and rhythm of the speed, and knowing how to execute that speed is going to make him very special. So he could be one of those guys who really disappoints, or he could be one of those guys with a high ceiling that we're talking about as one of the top 25 running backs in the next 2 years in the NFL. That's the hard part. And that's why I think he's a stock down because that development never happened and he took a step back.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you said. I mean, I think this whole running back class is going to be interesting. Um,
Mhm.
And
It
I
is
I agree with you. I mean,
going to
he's
come right down to the wire, man.
yeah, I mean, he's going to be, he's one of the thicker guys, but I'm not so sure he's an explosive playmaker either. I think when he gets a runway and he gets going, he's put on some really good highlight films. But yeah, I
Yeah,
don't disagree with you. The
exactly.
way he nimbles through the line of scrimmage isn't someone who looks like he's got a plan. It's like he's just kind of going
Correct.
for what he sees. So, all right, guys, there are our six NFL rookie stock report players for